You and Steve Gow really liking this new format.
Hey, welcome in, everybody. It's the Cinema 9 podcast. Are you excited?
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Oh, come on. We love the show. It's the Cinema 9. Cinema 9 Pod at ProtonMail.com. Cinema 9 Pod and all your favorite social media platforms. It's the final show of 2020. This is going to be our big farewell to 2020. We'll take a look at everything that happened in cinema, give you some of our favorites, and any opinion related to the 2020 movie industry. My name is Michael Govier, and of course, my co-host, my dear pals, Travis Roy on New Year's Eve. Travis, we're doing a New Year's Eve show. You excited?
Yeah, I'm very excited, and strap in, folks. We've had some lengthy episodes lately, but I feel like between quarantine viewing picks and then our top 20 of the year, or our top movies of 2020, and then discussing Legends of the Fall, our segment, our subject today, I feel like it's going to be a long one, but that's okay.
Damn! I don't know if it's going to be that long, but it's going to be pretty long. I hope it's 2.5 hours minimum, but we'll see. Travis Roy, I'm looking forward to doing the show with you. But Eric Brandstrom, you love New Year's Eve as much as Travis. How do you feel about today's show? You excited?
Yeah, I'm excited to break down 2020. It was a weird year for film. I didn't go to the theater one time, but I spent a hell of a lot of money on Amazon rentals and Comcast rentals. So let's see if I can justify all this wasted fucking money.
Kill your own kind.
Well, I don't know if we're going to be able to make it happen, but I have a feeling this might be the best show we've ever done. Don't forget that in 2021, we'll still be here. Nothing will change. Basically, the same damn show every Thursday right here on Facebook Live. And, of course, as a podcast format on Spotify, Apple Podcast. Right? Oh, man.
All right.
People are sad. Yeah, and 5 stars Apple rating only help make the podcast seem more reasonable to other people. But we already know that this is a fine podcast. And doing 39 episodes. Who would have thought?
Send us an email. Let us know what you're liking, what improvements we might be able to make. Maybe you got an idea for the direction of the show we haven't considered.
And above all else, just thank you for listening throughout the year. Doing this with these two guys here has been a real joy in a pretty crappy year, and it's completely not worth doing without anybody listening. So those of you that have been listening, we truly, truly appreciate it.
Roasting.
I mean, I appreciate it. I guess I should say. Mike just started laughing.
I
won't speak
I
for
love
Mike.
you guys.
Yeah, I think this has been, it's been quite an experience, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much. The live stream people with all your silly comments and the emails we got from Jeff, other emailers. I think there was someone else.
Derek. Got plenty
Of course.
from Derek.
Oh, Derek. Yeah, I mean, Derek Fern, legendary dude. And next week, Brian Madison will be on the show. He'll be our special guest. And at the end of the show, we'll reveal what movie we'll be taking a look at to find out if it holds up. We have the selection. The pick is in. So I'm excited. It's going to be a good time. Any New Year's Eve plans tonight, Eric Brandstrom?
I'm going to go have a nice quiet dinner with my wife and say goodbye to this hellstorm and do our best.
All right.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought maybe you would go on a bender because it's New Year's Eve.
I'm going to get drunk.
Good. That's good.
Travis, what about you? You gonna just relax and take in the sights?
Friends of the show, the Laskowskis, I should say, a couple that we're friends with, as they have a great outdoor setup where they've got like 2 of those big or 3 of those like big like burning like fiery like outdoor warmers that bars have. They got it all set up for some outside social distance kind of New Year's Eve action. So that's what I'll be doing this evening.
Oh man. Yes, that sounds like a lot of fun. I am totally down with that. I'll probably be popping in after work if everything works out, depending on how New Year's Eve goes at work this evening. I'm working at a hotel, and New Year's Eve at hotels, some people like to do that. They think it's special. Anywho, we hope you have a wonderful New Year's Eve. And on today's show, like we said, we'll be diving into Legends of the Fall to find out if does it hold up. 1994 classic? Middle of the road trash, garbage. I don't know. We'll see. I'm really curious because I haven't got any opinions during the week from this on any of you guys' sides. So this is kind of a fresh one. The last week we had kind of obvious we knew Scrooge would hold up, and this week, who knows?
Did we?
But first, we
I
want to
did.
dive into 2020. We want to take a look at some of the greatest and the worst, and anything in between. I know that I crammed a shitload of movies in to try to beat the clock on this one because I hadn't watched enough of 2020's best. I looked up 2020 top 10 list. I did it all, and I wanted to squeeze it in. How about you guys?
Yeah, definitely was able to squeeze in a hell of a lot of titles. Some I'm excited about. Others were a complete waste of time.
I watched a lot of movies this week. I got 18 movies under my belt. It's like the old school days of the beginning of the because I was on break, so I was able to get some big numbers under the belt.
Wow. Okay. Well, let's dive in. We're gonna do our I guess we're basically our favorite movies or the best of 2020. If you want to throw out some trash too, you can do that, but it's pretty much an open format. So let's get the ball rolling with anything you liked from last to first, Travis.
I don't want to do it that way. Are we not doing quarantine viewing picks today? I got all this other crap I'd rather talk about first, but if you want to blow the load and get that out of the way too, I guess we can go.
This is the 2020. This is what we fucking talked about doing. I don't know.
We're not doing the quarantine because it's going to be all right. Well, we can just skip the quarantine viewing picks this time, I guess.
Say whatever you want. Doesn't matter.
Well, I want to talk about the not so the movies that I watched this week that are not of particular interest. The Midnight Sky. The reviews are accurate. It's incredibly dull. Just incredibly dull movie. Like it's a real shame. Because Clooney's the man.
Is this the final nail in his directorial coffin?
No, but he needs to come back with something strong. I mean, Suburbicon and then this. Like, it's been a long time since Good Night and Good Luck.
Tomorrowland.
That was him too, wasn't it? That wasn't that great either.
Brad Bird.
Oh, that was Brad Bird.
Whatever, he's in it. It sucked.
I watched Wonder Woman 1984, which everyone's dunking on, and I could dunk on too. I don't want to spend too much time on it. I just want to say it's amazing to me in any film, let alone in something coming out of nerddom, when you take a character and you establish like these rules within the film, like this logic, this inner movie logic, these rules of how this character's powers in this case works, and then you just abandon them, like with like a half hour left in the movie to go, just like I'm just gonna change that now. Just gonna go in an opposite direction. It's just lots of like nonsensical things happening in this movie that just. Did you watch it, Eric?
No, I don't have HBO Max, but I heard scathing lambasting.
It's a piece of fucking garbage.
Yeah, it was not fantastic.
Terrible. Patty Jenkins got all this credit, and now she sucked. It was really, she is to blame. I don't know how much other bullshit got mixed into this, but when you're at the helm, look, I talked about this with a friend yesterday, real quick, and there was a lot. Wonder Woman was decent. It was a decent movie. It wasn't amazing, the first one.
Awesome.
Okay, it was decent. That's my opinion. I liked it. It wasn't amazing. Okay. And Patty Jenkins got a lot of credit, and there was a lot of excitement. And then this thing comes out, and it's just the opening segment, Travis. It was from right at the opening segment. It really turned me off. It was like, these people thought this opening segment was cool. Then I knew that things were going to go downhill. That's how I felt about that.
Which opening segment? Because there's
like the opening, that's like the competition.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, this is going out way too long. I'm like, where they did this? Why are we seeing this?
Yeah, if you're going to make a 2.5 hour movie, you want to make it really good, and I don't think they bothered to do that. So I'm not recommending that one. I'm going to skip some of the. Let's see. I don't want to get into everything I watched here, but in terms of some critically acclaimed stuff that I watched, trying to see if it would hold up as well as everyone's talking. I watched Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, which is getting a lot of good reviews. And did you watch it, Eric?
No, I heard the buzz.
It's a powerful movie. I think that everyone should watch it. I'm never going to watch it again because you saw it. What'd you think?
I loved it.
Yeah, I mean it's really powerful. It's really powerful, but I can't imagine watching it over and over again. It's painful. I mean, you're living this experience with this young girl, and it's rough. Yeah. But I think it's important, and everyone should watch it. I watched Wolfwalkers, Irish animation film that's getting a lot of high praise and comparisons to Miyazaki, and rightfully so. Not in terms of style exactly, but like in spirit. It was a fun film. And I watched Sound of Metal. Eric, Riz Ahmed obviously is someone to watch. This guy is really doing powerful, dramatic work, and I'm glad to see him starring in something. I think that's definitely worth catching. And I watched, and lastly, I watched Hamilton. And as I mentioned to the guys yesterday, Eric and Mike, I was ready to turn this off half an hour in. I was like, this is awful. Lin-Manuel Miranda, big Frank Oz energy, just not a good singer. I'm sorry. And I'm like ready to turn this shit off. And then the Schuyler sisters were introduced, and Liza Schuyler's song came on, and I'm like, I guess I can hang along with this. And I got more into the Aaron Burr story as well. And I end up really, really enjoying it.
Aaron Burr.
Yeah, I got a little annoyed that how many times are you gonna rhyme Burr with Sir? At one point they rhymed service. I'm like, fucking, are you kidding me?
Hey.
But and so those are the ones I watched this week. Some pretty good movies. Oh, and I watched Soul as well, but I already wrote a review on that, and Eric's gonna on Instagram, and Eric's gonna talk about it too. But I'm
not gonna talk about it.
No, okay.
Well, I mean, I watched it. Yeah,
just like your opinion, man.
Oh, that's wonderful. I watched Soul. Mike, I did this just for you, buddy. I watched another round.
Hey, thanks, man. Wow, that's like
Wasn't that good?
I went to go watch it. I just didn't want to pay for it. That's the only
wrong. It's not good, you said?
It's fine, but it's kind of like what you see is what you get. These four guys in Denmark decide that they're going to keep their blood alcohol level above 5%, 24 hours a day, to see if they can stay stimulated but not overstimulated, so their lives are better and they're happier. Some bullshit. They do it, and it doesn't really work out because you can't be drunk all the time, and then it's over. So
what? I mean, it's so this guy has this hypothesis, and he's, they're like making a professional, honest. They're academics. They all work at a school, and they think they're.
Yeah, you wouldn't think. You wouldn't think when they're like, let's see what happens if we get really drunk. Cool. Make sure you write this down.
Sounds like Beer Fest. I like Beer Fest.
But it's a lot more serious too than Beer Fest. Like Beer Fest is hilarious.
Drama.
It's a dramedy. They try to I thought it was mismarketed. I thought they labeled it as a comedy, but it's very much it's Mad Nicholson, deep introspection scenes.
He's great in it, but it's got the full Monty European flair to it, where it's very kitschy and cheeky and stuff, where it could take advantage of some of the more dramatic moments. It gets silly. I wasn't sinking its claws into me, but Mads was great. But yeah, I'm glad I saw it.
Thomas Vinterberg. I like
Thomas Vinterberg. Yeah.
And it also, he did this in tribute to his daughter who died in a car accident. It was her idea to do the movie because apparently there's a big drinking problem in Holland and Denmark, and people are, I thought maybe you might like it for a certain reason, but it didn't mean that would be true, and that's okay. I can live with that. I mean, sometimes we take a chance, and sometimes you go, and that's what happened here. I pushed it. I took a chance, and thank you for watching it.
No problem, man. No problem. But yeah, I watched Soul, and I'll go ahead and say that I found this to be one of the lesser Pixar efforts. I'd like Downward more than this. Thank you, Mike. There were just elements that just felt a little bit tired. For the body swap, I just wasn't feeling it. It's that's what you guys came up with for this 45-minute chunk. And 22, that little white middle-aged character, I was like, why are you in this? I thought this was going to finally just focus on this African-American family, and they tossed in this white savior to have to deal with for an hour. Get the fuck out of here.
Isn't he saving her?
That's what I mean. I would rather him work on saving himself, maybe work with his family instead. Oh, help the middle-aged white girl for an hour. I wasn't feeling it.
They make really clear in the movie she's not actually a middle-aged white girl. They make that.
She was presented as such just so Disney can not alienate its white audience. It's a fact.
Fey is the voice. Anyway.
I know.
Oh boy!
As long as I've known you, Eric, you have had strong opinions about movies, and you oscillate wildly to the other side of things, and suddenly love it. So I hope that this is one you change your mind on.
I'll give it another chance for you.
That's just like your opinion, man.
It's just
Three
your,
times with this quote.
3 times.
it's just your opinion. I mean, we have a lot of opinions on this show.
We do. But I mean,
But I think Eric's right. I'm glad. I support you, Eric.
Oh, you watched
did
it?
you see it? Did you see it?
No.
Oh well, come on now.
Wrong.
I don't know if I'm right. I mean, I don't think I'm right or wrong. I'm just saying, for me, I wish they didn't have the 22 character. I just bogged everything down and felt too familiar, like early Pixar Bugs Life stuff. Like, hey, get out of here. I'm more interested in this Joe character. But you know.
Okay.
What else you watch?
I gotta say, I mean, for 2020, my top 5 is pretty much what I was catching up on. So I'm really, I'll go ahead and tell you that my number 5 for my top 5 of 2020 was Mank, or Wank, as you and that fellow on Instagram like to call it. I just thought it was a beautiful word picture. And 4 for me was Sound of Thunder. I'll bring it up because you had already
Sound of
mentioned
Metal?
it. Thought it was Sound of Metal. Yeah, why the fuck did I write Sound of Thunder? Isn't that,
Yeah, that was great.
Ray Bradbury shit?
I don't know what that is.
Sound of Metal. I just thought I loved it, especially just the interactions with the deaf community. I'd never seen anything like that represented in a film, and I thought it deserved a lot of credit for that alone.
Wow.
All right.
I thought it was, I need to see that one. That's the one I haven't seen. So I know. Sorry, Mank's the one I haven't seen. I gotta see Mank.
Wank.
Wank. That's so funny. Wank is funny.
Oh boy, this breakfast bunch shit is already a little bit. I don't know. We'll give it a shot. But I don't know, Mike. What about you?
I don't even know what we're talking about now. We're doing quarantine
Talking
viewing.
about-
We're talking about 2020.
we can start mixing them in, but let's talk 2020. I want to narrow down maybe the top 5.
Or you give us your quarantine viewing picks and then throw us your number 5.
I loved another round. I really did. I thought it was a lot of fun,
Did you?
and it was important to me. But it doesn't mean that everyone else has to like it, and I'm willing to live with that. I've grown as a human being, and I've accepted that I'm going to make mistakes on occasion. But as far as what I watched this week, I want to recommend a couple films, and I think they'll provide you joy in 2021 because, you know, we really need it. 2020 was, I heard it sucked. Some people said it wasn't great. And I think we're looking for better days in this coming year. And hopefully we'll get a vaccine and we'll have fun again. We can maybe do the podcast in person. That'd be fun. What if we did it
That would be
together?
a lot of fun.
It'd be amazing.
Cool. That'd be, you know, me and Travis live closer together, so we could definitely be together more often, and that would be cool. And anyways, I have a lot of excitement that one day we'll all get together and Eric will make the road trip up. But as far as what I watched this week, boy, I crammed in 2020 like a motherfucker, and I went ape shit. But I also watched some other movies besides that. I watched Dirty Grandpa. It was fucking terrible.
What the fuck?
I never seen it, but I wanted to get it off the books. Zac Efron, I complained about. I think Zac Efron's overrated. De Niro's just old and doing whatever he wants at this point, so that's fine. I don't have a problem with that.
Dirty Grandpa.
I watched Shazam. I never seen Shazam.
Okay.
What'd you think?
It was fun. I
It's my
enjoyed it.
favorite DC movie. I love Shazam.
Yeah, it's great.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Actually,
thought
when I
it was
say it's,
like-
I think it's the only good DC movie, I should say. But carry on.
Oh,
Yeah, where's that
Patty
drop?
Jenkins in your face. Yeah, it's not your fault. It's
Not
not your
including
fault.
Batman.
It includes Batman v Superman and
Yes,
Justice
that
League and Suicide Squad, which is terrible. Yeah,
Correct. Yes.
you're right. It's not that hard to do that. But Shazam's fun. It starts out a little like, oh man, but then it was fun. I had a good time. I recommend it. It's a Christmas movie as well. So if you're looking for the holidays, you're still in the holiday spirit, you want to squeeze it in. It's the Christmas movie. It is, in my opinion. I watched We Bought a Zoo. This is the last Cameron Crowe movie, the last
Come
Cameron
on.
Crowe film that I have to see every Cameron Crowe movie, and I can't believe I never watched this one because I love
It's
Cameron
10 years
Crowe.
old now, too.
Yeah, it came out in 2011, and Matt Damon, Scarlett Johansson.
How do you push play looking at that title, Mike, knowing what we know about Cameron Crowe's recent?
Or
I
just
know exactly. That's the point.
the title of the movie itself. We Bought a Zoo.
Yeah, we bought a zoo.
Well, that's what turned me off originally. I'm like, this sounds absurd, right? So it delayed me. But I'm sorry to say that I waited that long because this movie was wonderful. It was a beautiful film about the struggle and overcoming challenges and facing up to the real adventure in life. It really touched me, and I got a little emotional.
Okay.
I'm glad I saw this film. Well
So,
done,
Mike,
Cameron.
So, did they literally have to feed rhinos and shit, like upkeep a zoo, or is it like a metaphor?
If you want to know, that's yes.
You
They
should watch the
literally, yeah. Well, that
just
doesn't
got-
give it away. They do buy a zoo. There's other things that go on. But yes,
I
they
mean-
really do buy a zoo.
The name of the movie is "We Bought a Fucking Zoo." So-
Yeah.
I was hoping that was a metaphor for like grief or tragedy or something.
No, that is not the case. I wish it was.
I watched
It
this
was-
whole movie and there's no squids or whales in it. What the fuck?
That's funny. I think this movie has a lot more going on, and I'd recommend it to everybody. But yes, they buy a zoo. It's also based on a real zoo in England, not in California. It's called the Dartmoor Zoo, which is open. I mean, maybe not today, but they're usually open. It's a real place you could still visit, and they have a website that says, "Hey, we're the We Bought a Zoo." So good for them. And it showed me that Camera Crow still has it, by the way, because it was 9 years ago. I know, but he still got it. I know Aloha was the disaster. We can't go out on Aloha. I know Roadies was cool. That was a TV show, but I'm talking a feature-length film. I want to see Cameron Crowe come back with something and reestablish himself, because it can't be Aloha as the farewell.
I like 10, the Pearl Jam, or was it 20, the Pearl Jam documentary he did.
Yeah, that was the year before that.
Together.
We Bought a Zoo, but yeah, again, 10 years ago. So poor Cameron. Vanilla Sky, by the way, we did a show on that, and that's a year in review if you want to go back and listen to
Citizen Dildo?
I watched Dark Phoenix. What a fucking joke, man. Well, I did it though. I had to do it. I did it. It's done.
It's over.
Put it away.
Watch New Mutants.
Yeah, shit. I forgot. God damn it. I wish someone would have said that. I wanted to watch it. But we'll always have Days of Future Past and First Class. Those were good
Yeah, we
films.
will.
Yeah, those
Great
great
films.
movies.
So they should have stopped there. And then I think it starts to get into 2020 stuff. So yeah, we can move into that zone.
Yeah, give us your number 5 or whatever. Is it
Okay.
another round?
My number 5 is, I'm going to go Greyhound. Now, this movie surprised me.
Wow.
Tom Hanks, World War II film. Okay, boring, right? Typical, been there, done that.
Not
But
necessarily.
no, this is a very, what's the word? Pinpoint kind of technical film. It's
That's
very
what I've been hearing. I'm hearing it's like less entertaining, just like so technically, like
Very
trying to be accurate without like much of a story. Like,
Oh, there's a story, but it's just very technical, and it's based on a convoy. You know, so before World War II starts, you know, we had the convoys going across. The Allies are supporting the Britons, because we needed to help them. The Lend-Lease Act and all that bullshit. And so this is one of those where a guy, first-time captain, Tom Hanks, is going to be covering the convoy as one of the lead warships, and that's the story. They got to get there? U-boats. Watch out! You ever heard of them? That's the enemy in this film. And Tom Hanks does Tom Hanks, but I liked it because it was like very fast-paced, and it didn't pull any punches. And I was surprised how much I liked it. I'm still surprised as we're talking about it right now. I'm recommending it. I really am.
All right.
what?
All right. My number 5, I felt like this was a good year for streamers, unsurprisingly. I feel like it was a good year for horror as well. I'm going to give a quick shout out to my a special nod to his house on Netflix. But my number 5, I'm going to give up to Host from Shudder. It's like 70 minutes long. It's incredibly fast. And it starts off, and I'm like, this is like every other fucking horror movie. Like, I think, again, like Hamilton, I think I considered turning it off, like, after the first 10 or 15 minutes. Was kind of like, meh. And I was kind of like playing around on my phone. And then, like, as the movie went on, like, the phone I could have thrown it across the room. I was just like, eyes peeled, just wrapped with attention with this movie. I think it's a really strong horror film, really cleverly done. I know that it's not the most original premise, but I feel like it's pulled off in a way that is exceptionally good. And if you want just a fast, entertaining horror film, I couldn't recommend Host anymore.
That's great. Yeah, my Shudder subscription expired, but I really wanted to see that. I'm glad you mentioned that. I might go back and check it out.
Yeah, you should.
We're gonna miss you. We're gonna miss you, Shudder.
You know what? I do want to take a quick opportunity to run down just a few that I caught up on. I fucking watched Terminator Dark Fate. I don't know why. Like for some reason, like I'm on like an Arnold kick. I have no explanation for this. I've never really cared that much about Arnold, but I just keep watching these Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, and I don't know how to explain myself.
Because he's a handsome man.
Kill your own kind.
Right? I mean, he's a happy, fun-going guy. Who doesn't want to watch Arnold on film?
When it comes to Terminator Dark Fate, I'd heard the negative views. They say this destroyed the franchise. It's an absolute goddamn nightmare. I kind of liked it. I don't know what to tell you. I thought especially the quiet, like the action was just like CGI trash, but like the quiet moments were really interesting and engaging. Linda Hamilton was good. Arnold was still solid. So I don't know what everyone's talking about. I dug it.
Denied. No, I'm just kidding. I haven't seen it yet.
Have you guys ever seen Conan the Barbarian?
Yeah.
I've actually never seen that.
It's fucking ridiculous. How the hell did this movie get made?
It was the 80s.
Yeah.
John Milius and Oliver Stone screenplay. It's like, I can't explain it. You have to see it. I mean, I actually really ended up liking it. It's
I've heard of it.
fucking weird. James Earl Jones is like this snake monster with these bright blue eyes. It makes no fucking sense.
I haven't seen it since the 80s, so yeah, I don't know if it's perfect or not, but I do know that it was fun when I was a kid. But you know, I'm
That's
40
like
now, so.
You know what? I went back and took a look at Crimson Tide. I had never seen this from 1995. I always missed it. I fucking loved it.
I'm the commander of this ship.
It's my favorite Tony Scott movie, even more so than True Romance.
All right. Yeah, I think a lot of people feel that way. I mean, I don't, but a lot of people do. It's pretty widely regarded well.
Yeah.
I didn't think I would care at all. Like this, who cares? Like they're yelling at each other in the brig. Who cares? I love it.
You went on a Tony Scott bender, didn't you?
Yeah, I watched Taking It Pelham 1, 2, 3. Gemini Man. I don't know what I was thinking. It was like midnight. I'm like, what the fuck? Who cares? Will Smith. It was interminable. And I mean, I can't believe Ang Lee directed this piece of shit. It was so bad and boring. The actors are sleepwalking for the entire 2 hours and 40 minutes.
2 hours and 40 and you sat through it?
God.
Yeah. I couldn't find the remote, so I just sat there and watched the poor CGI and the shitty acting.
Wow.
That's frightening. I don't know.
I watched 1917. I missed it last year. I finally checked it out. I was kind of bored. I don't know what to tell you guys. I know I'm going to get a lot of shit for this. I was kind of bored. I sat there and marveled at the technical aspects and the direction, the beautiful cinematography by Roger Deakins, but I was kind of bored.
Why are your opinions so bad?
Wrong.
I'm sorry. Did you guys see it?
Congratulations.
You're so funny about your opinions, Eric. That's something we'll always look forward to in
I like
2020.
to please, but I get worried if I don't like something. I get really anxious.
Yeah,
I thought 1917 was great, but to each their own. It was also the last movie I saw in theaters, and it definitely was one I felt like that was important to see it in theaters. I don't know if the first time on the home screen would have worked as well. Mike, what's your number 4, bud?
Well, by the way, the Tony Scott reference. Remember, you got me to see a movie I'd never seen by Tony Scott, Spy Game. That's something I watched over the last week. I'd never seen it.
Oh,
And, I love those type of movies. Perfect. Well, it was fun for me because it's Robert Redford and he's on the move. But the fact that they try to make Brad Pitt 25 years younger in Vietnam is just so stupid. He'd be like a baby. That was
really
that was a little dumb, but I kind of enjoyed it still. My number 4 overall is going to go to, I mentioned it recently, Palm Springs. I loved Palm Springs. It's a fun movie. Really a lot of fun, and it's got a lot more going on than just the comedy. Andy Samberg showing a little bit of range in this movie, possibly.
Really?
Not like, he might not win an Academy Award or anything, but he can do it all. I think he's a very talented dude, and this film is a ton of fun. It's just fun, man. And maybe it's a Groundhog Day remake, whatever you want to say, but it's not. There's other things going on here too. But I think it was one of the year's best.
It didn't make it in my top 5, but it was in my top 6 or 7. Like it was one that I ended up cutting. But like I do think it's one of the year's best as well.
Well, that's good. We have rules, and you want to make sure that we're all sticking to them. Thank you.
I don't know what you said because you had something else going on.
I heard some weird noise.
Anyway, my number 4. I got to give it up to Spike Lee's Da 5 Bloods. I thought that movie was pretty fantastic. Delroy Lindo deserves an Oscar for this film. I don't know that he'll get Best Supporting, unless he gets nominated for Best Actor for it, because I feel like that. Chadwick Boseman's probably a shoe-in for Best Supporting Actor. So I'm hoping Delroy gets nominated for Best Actor. Hopefully, I thought it was a really powerful movie. Spike Lee has been on a bit of a tear lately, and I thought it was just a really well done movie, and I think that I know that not everyone felt that way, but for me, it was like the first movie I watched in 2020. I'm like, thank God, a new movie, and I'm like, oh, it's actually really good. And then it didn't get much better than that throughout the rest of the year. I mean, it's a pretty great movie. So, Defy Bloods.
I watched it because of you this week. I wanted to make sure I squeezed it in, and it started out like I was like, oh, this is awesome. I'm gonna love this movie, but it kind of faded for me. But Delroy Lindo was incredible.
Yeah, he was fucking awesome in it. I didn't care for the movie, but I hope he gets the nomination.
I like the way it started. It's disappointing. Okay, Eric, what about you?
My number 3 is The Lodge. I thought it was a fucking amazing horror movie from 2020. Riley Keough continues to impress. It's two things. I kind of want more people to hire her so I can see more of her work, but I also kind of like how she's on the DL playing just these regular characters. I'm afraid they're gonna like exploit her into some bullshit. But the beautiful, like isolating horror thriller, really fucking creepy. It's the best horror movie I've seen all year.
It's one of the best horror movies of the year. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, I didn't see that. I'll take your word for it. I believe you. I do believe you. All right. So then my number 3 is The Boys in the Band. I really love The Boys in the Band.
Oh, wow.
It was a very powerful film. When I first got into it, I'm like, what the hell's going on? I was a little like, is this for me? And by the time I was done with it, I was like, I love this film. And I love just the honesty. And I would like to be in a group like that where people are just so blatantly, brutally honest with each other about their feelings about one another and what their actions and how they make them feel. And I thought Zachary Quinto should maybe be nominated. I thought he was outstanding, but Jim Parsons would probably be like the best actor nom if it came to that, but I don't think he deserves it. I think Zachary Quinto was very unique in this. He really took it to a different range than I've seen him in other films. So.
Was it a theatrical release? Are they going to be?
It was a Netflix, I believe. It was a streamer, one of the streamers. It was a streamer.
Okay. Yeah, I still need to catch that.
Strong recommend on that.
My number 3, I watched this week, and I was aware that it had been out since October, and I'm like, oh, I'll definitely get around to that because I'm a big David Byrne fan, and I love the Talking Heads so much. But I hadn't really, I've only followed a couple David Byrne albums, and the newest album, American Utopia, I hadn't really listened to much. So I was like, I'll get around to it, and then it started showing up on a bunch of best of lists, and I watched it, and let me tell you, I'm a huge Talking Heads fan. I'm a huge fan of Stop Making Sense. This is better than Stop Making Sense. This is fucking incredible. I wept through this thing. I mean, it's profound. It is joyful. It is, he spent years working with color guards and like marching bands and stuff like that, and it really shows. This is just something else. This is something very different. He does a bunch of songs from American Utopia, which I had not heard before, but which are all fantastic. And he does a bunch of songs by the Talking Heads. And I really just want to ruin it and start naming all the songs that get done, because there are some deep cuts. But I don't want to spoil it for anybody. But I was really, never going to see. I'm never. They're one of the bands I've always wanted to see live. I never will. And this was a year where we were all just deprived of live music. And this was, if you want a cinematic experience, again, and also directed by Spike Lee. So he's on two out of 5 of my movies this year. So definitely check it out. American Utopia is an experience.
Wow.
Yes.
You just took one of mine off my list, so I might switch one out because that was coming up on my list.
It's still okay.
It was, yeah, I completely agree with you, Travis. This so good. So
I've been sitting here waiting for it to come out. I had no idea it was available anywhere.
Oh no, it's
on HBO Max.
Yeah, it's been out for a while. It's so good. It's so great. Good. David Byrne. I don't always like him. He's kitschy in times and can be a little annoying, but this is
I disagree.
Well, I love the Talking Heads, but I like people in that band more than him. But this is a really well done. This is really an outstanding, one of the year's best, no doubt.
Wow, that's fucking awesome. Going back to Arnold, I did watch Jingle All the Way.
Do you follow?
I've spent the past 7 years of my life, like laughing at the idea of this film, thinking it's a fucking goddamn joke.
Oh, you
I
never saw it?
laughed. I laughed. I'd never seen it. I was laughing. I genuinely enjoyed it.
Good for you.
You judge
Oh.
movies before you see them.
You know, that's one of the big lessons I'm learning about this podcast between Heaven's Gate and Jingle All the Way. Like, I'm done listening to what people say. I'm ready to go out there and give these films my own opinion on them.
So
Good
is this
for
your
you.
number two of 2020 is 1997's Jingle All the Way? All right, Mike.
No,
your turn.
but I did have to mention that. I also want to mention the fact that I watched Scary Movie 2 and Anna Faris is on a different planet. I was laughing out loud the entire time. It's still so funny.
Yeah, it's not even close to the first one, but that's cool.
My number 2 is Hamilton. Travis, you said it all. I
Oh my
mean,
God.
what can you say? I mean, you know, I was a little worried about putting on a list because they just kind of filmed the play, but that's the thing. I love the way they filmed it. I mean, it was directed like just masterfully. They hit every note and like the camera was in the right place all the time. The sound was fucking incredible. I loved it. Not as much as my number 1 that I just saw last night for the first time, but I did love it.
We wait with our breath bated.
Well, I hope so. That's my intention.
Wow. Okay. My number 2 was American Utopia. It was just so good. What else can you say? But
Didn't mean to steal your thunder, but it is an incredible experience.
yeah, it's something you have to watch. I think
It's not just like David Byrne like looking at a mirror and like with like dumb shit floating
Have
around.
you ever watched Stop Making Sense?
No.
Oh, well, watch that.
What?
And then ask questions.
You have some work to do. Yeah, you might want to maybe do a double feature. That could be a fun night for you.
Yeah, that would be
fun. I'll report next week.
At any rate, you know what?
You gonna switch it up now?
I think I'd like to.
You're gonna bump up what it was number 6 to number 2 on your list?
Yeah.
So
I don't.
you can talk about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw. Okay, I'm gonna throw it in just for the hell of it. I really should. The Trip to Greece came out, and every time the Trip comes out, I'm immediately a sucker, and I love it. And even if it's not the best one, it's one of my favorites. The Trip, Coogan, Rob Brydon, just doing their thing in Greece this time. I fucking love it. Make sure you watch it. It came out this year, and we're blessed that we've had so many trips. And as long as they're alive, maybe they'll do every country in the world before they die. Who knows? But Michael Winterbottom and these guys, you can't miss with the Trip to Greece. Yeah, check that one out.
Yeah, and Winterbottom, what an underrated director, man! Like that guy has just been doing solid gold.
Oh
Just
yeah,
great work since the '90s, and
just like Eric always mentions, 24-hour party people. You know, yeah, he's great.
Welcome to Sarajevo was amazing.
Oh,
All right, my number 2, I've already talked about once on this show, and surprisingly enough, it's a documentary. It's My Octopus Teacher. I loved My Octopus Teacher so much. I mean, I won't spend too much time on it because I already did once before. But this is an incredibly beautiful story about life. And I'm an animal lover, and I had respect for octopuses before I watched this, so maybe I was a little bit biased. But I feel like anybody could see this and get a lot out of it. Like even someone that just doesn't care about animals, I think would. I mean, there are times where it's extremely manipulative and kind of melodramatic, and you're like, oh, okay, buddy. But overall, it's well worth watching. It's on Netflix, and I couldn't recommend it more. It's my second favorite movie of the year.
hey, absolutely, I'm with you all the way.
So
I haven't seen it, but I support you. You had such a response to it, such a wonderfully emotional response to it that I have to assume it's a beautiful film. I would like to watch it still. I got to get on that. So, Eric, I guess it's time for you to reveal your number 1. If you want to throw out an honorable mention, this is your last chance. But you're muted, but no one will ever hear you as long as you're muted. I need to tell you that.
I'll throw out a dishonorable mention to Bill and Ted Face the Music. That was just crushing blow to already shitty year. I mean, all that time, and that's the script that was handed in, was just painful for me. I also wanted to very quickly mention how much I loved Why Stop Now from, I think, 2012. A little bit of a Jesse Eisenberg pick, Tracy Morgan and Melissa Leo. I fucking love that movie so much. It's so good if you haven't seen it. My number 1 is The Way Back, starring Ben Affleck, directed by Gavin O'Connor. It came out last year, kind of molted in and out of theaters. Yeah, early 2020. I remember hearing the buzz early in the year, and I was like, whatever. Like, I don't give a shit about basketball movies. What, he's got to like coach the inter-city team, but like, no, it's a powerful, beautiful movie about addiction and trauma and pain and redemption. I absolutely give it my strongest recommendation of the year. Ben Affleck is fucking incredible. Deserves the Oscar.
I thought it was a solid watch. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a solid watch. I agree with Travis. By the way, Eric, you told me you wanted me to watch Why Stop Now because you watched it.
I did.
And I double checked, like I said, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot I'd seen this, but I might have been high and it was slightly fell out of my brain. But I definitely remembered it once I turned it on.
Hilarious.
It's you seen that one, Travis? Why Stop Now? Jesse Eisenberg, Tracy Morgan.
No.
It's really
Check it
fun. You would like it, Travis.
Melissa Leo. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a really, really interesting film. I'd recommend it. What do we watch it on? It's on one of the. You can watch Showtime. Was that what it was?
Showtime, yeah.
Yeah, so you can watch it, Travis, if you'd like to.
You can't make me.
Oh, I don't want you to. This is consent. Consent is required on all film viewings. All right, there it is. Wow. Okay, so it's time for the number one. Quick honorable mentions. Bill and Ted was awesome. I really liked Bill and Ted a lot, and I had a ton of fun with it. So that is definitely something I would still recommend you guys watch. It was surprising that they put a little effort into it. It was weird, but I still enjoyed it a lot. I really
Zero
did.
effort.
What's that?
Zero effort, but keep going. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Travis, you saw it too, right?
I haven't watched it.
No desire?
I have a desire, but I've heard. I guess I've heard such terrible things that I didn't bother. But now it's showing up on a bunch of people's end of the year lists that I've seen. You're not the first person I've heard say it's one of the year's best. So I mean, I'm gonna watch it. Of course, it just hasn't been at the top of my list of things to do.
Yeah, it wasn't mine either. But I'm like, oh shit, I forgot about it. I had totally forgotten about it.
Critical
Completely.
Condition from 1987. That was cool.
Ooh. Okay. Well, there you go.
That was important to me.
I feel like that's a slap in the face to Bill and Ted, but whatever. We'll let it slide. Yeah. So that Bill and Ted would surprise me. There's a movie called Tommaso with Willem Dafoe. Really good. Check that one out.
Pretty good.
It's a little dry, but it's great. I also watched The Assistant. The Assistant is very uncomfortable, but it's great. That just missed my top 5 list. I want to recommend The Assistant. It's basically
Harvey Weinstein story.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But he's never he's just this ominous figure in it. And it's all about the assistant. And it's really a great idea. I'm glad someone thought of doing it and putting it to screen because it gives you more of a feel. And then Athlete A is a documentary about the USA Gymnastics nightmare with Larry Nassar. Obviously something that,
Great reviews.
like you said with sometimes never always blah blah blah. Something you might not watch again, but definitely worth a watch and very, very well done. There's pieces of shit out there beyond Larry Nassar who deserve to be, reckoned with. Yes, yeah, absolutely, totally. And Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, that was good, but wasn't in my top 5. Even though Chadwick Boseman deserves a lot of respect for that, I'm happy with him getting the Oscar, no doubt about it. But I don't know.
The movie itself it was good, but it wasn't one of the year's best.
Oh, really? I thought it might be in your top 5. Okay, all right. That's interesting.
I've been thinking about it a lot lately, and I wonder if it might have been better if they kind of this might be a bold statement, but if they maybe contemporized it and had it take place here in present day, I think you could say a lot.
He's like, it's going to be a bold statement. It should have been more. There should have been more white people in the movie.
No, dude. You could have the exact same themes, but I don't.
It's Ma Rainey. It's about Ma Rainey. How the fuck you going to have her time travel? She's a real person,
All right. That's funny. All right, but yeah, my number one this year, I just loved Another Round. Not everybody may love it, but for me, it's my number one. Wow. It is. Wow. It just affected me in a way because people out there, they just kind of trudge through life and they never stop to take a look at wow, what if my lack of doing anything, I'm not hurting anybody, but I'm actually hurting others and the loved ones because I'm not doing anything. And some people don't even recognize that. And then things fall apart. And then some people can't even understand how it came to be, or maybe it was their fault when it comes to relationships, their children, their families. And it's way more than just, drinking comedy. Yes, there's drinking hijinks in this film, but it's nowhere near like a beer fest or anything. It's very much, as Eric said, it's European.
Dependency comedy. They spend the 2/3 of it just romanticizing the idea of stimulation, you know, in
Yes.
unhealthy doses, and then
Right,
they're like, "Oh,
because
yeah, it's
You
actually
already
not that
you
good."
already talked about it. Let
All
him
right,
talk
all
about
right,
his number
okay,
one.
all right,
because
all
they're
right,
death.
all right.
Yes, they're so Mads Mikkelsen's character in particular is very desperate man. He, hey, there we go. I don't know what happened there. He's a very desperate man. I don't know, he's lost his way. He was a very talented guy. All four of the main four dudes with the buddies they're teachers, and they're all kind of floating in their lives in different ways, and they get together and then they come up with the idea. You're right, and that's no spoiler on that, but how things go from there is very it's very realistic to me. This was not like an out of body experience film. This is real life in particular a country that I don't understand as well or know as well either. And I think it's important that since I don't understand the country as well, I need to give it a little bit more leeway, because I don't want to assume that I know everything about how their society works. And it's a different world than what's going on in the United States. And I don't want to be an asshole, be like, oh, this is dumb, or that's not how things would go. I give them the benefit of the doubt. And it really touched me in a way that surprised me too, which is also why I give it credit. Now, maybe I could even put Utopia 1, but I decided to go through another round one, and I'm happy with that. I'll look back on this episode and be like, you know what? I'm happy with my choice, and I'm proud of what they did in that film.
Well, I imagine we'll be able to retouch on this stuff around Oscar time once we've watched some of the movies that, like I would like to have seen Tenet. I would have liked to see News of the World, Nomadland. I would have liked to have seen these movies before having this conversation. I would have liked to have watched Another Round, which I literally almost rented last night, but I will watch that.
It's definitely going to win the best foreign film of the year,
film.
feature length. I think it's a lock on that one, just because there's not a lot.
We'll see what the Koreans have to offer. They've been coming real strong lately.
Yeah, you're right. We'll see. But they got the star power with Mads too, so it might be unfair. Maybe it shouldn't even be that. But it's definitely a foreign film. It's completely subtitled. There's no English.
It's like The Hunt.
I get that they got to make their money and do business, but it just sucks that some of these movies I really wanted to see are just like fucking $20. I can't pull the trigger. I wanted to see Let Him Go with Kevin Costner and Diane.
John Patrick Shanley's newest Wild what's it called? Wild Country Time, I think it's called.
Yeah.
I really want to see that. I love him so much, but like I just want to pay $20 to see a movie.
First Cow.
I saw First Cow.
You did?
Yeah, I mentioned it on the show before. It was good.
Okay, right.
Not my top five. My number one. I'll get into that now. Now one of the ironies I think of having a show like this is that we're a review show, and when you review something, especially if you feel really strongly about it, you can almost turn people off from it. Like there's a reason why I didn't watch Hamilton for a long time, because everybody's excessive obsession with this movie turned me off, and the play rather, the soundtrack, everything. It just turned me off, and I'm like, I just so I'm a little wary to talk about my favorite movie of the year, because I don't want to make anyone feel like to turn them off where they're not going to watch it, But I watched a movie, and there's a phrase that Eric likes to use pretty often that we make fun of him for. It's life affirming, right? Yeah. But when Eric, I think when you use the phrase life affirming, you don't mean that it's affirming your life. Like watching this movie validates your entire existence. You're just saying, if I'm reading you right, that this film, whatever film in question, has made you think about life in a profound way, and made you, it affirms existence. It's an existential film, and it makes you happy and glad about life. And that's what Soul did for me. Since I watched Soul, I have not stopped thinking about this movie. I have not stopped listening to the score. I've had some really emotional showers listening to the score. It is an incredible, to me, again, I'm afraid to oversell it to people, but for me, it spoke to me so much about the brevity of life, the importance of taking time to not focus on your dreams, but to focus on the relationships in your life, and how dreams can sometimes even distract you from those people in your life that are most important. And the movie's not saying, hey, don't go for your dreams. It's not saying that at all, but it's I think there's a lot in this movie, and I know it might be too much for kids, but I don't have any kids, so who fucking cares? I watched this movie and I loved it, and I thought it said incredibly important things about life and existence, and I'm going to watch it again and again.
So beautifully said, Travis. And you've hit on, how I feel about the film, but that is one thing that they did a great job on, and it's your purpose in life. I mean, you can make a big deal out of purpose, but like, what my idol is Fred Rogers. He says you don't have to go out there and do anything grand to be special. You're special automatically. Everyone is special. You don't have to do anything to prove that you're special. And you don't really have to have a purpose. If your purpose is to just be a good person, enjoy life, and appreciate the good things, then you're going to probably have a good life. And I think that's one of the big messages of that story.
Yeah, and the movie, it literally made me think of life a little differently. And if cinema is doing that for a person, then that's really achieving great things.
Yes!
Couldn't agree more, guys. Well done. And that's it. That's our top 5 best of 2020, ladies and gentlemen. I got to tell you, Soul, you sold Soul well, so maybe I'll watch it. I probably wouldn't watch it otherwise, but that was a good.
So beautiful.
I hope everybody adjusts their expectations, because that's my fear. Fern, our buddy Fern's kicking in with the Soul is very good. He says watch it with the kids a few times now, and it's amazing. Great messages, and the visuals are phenomenal. It is. It's artistry is incredible. As it started, I'm like, oh, it looks like Pixar. Then it kind of like gets weirder. I'm like, oh my god, this is.
Yeah, how do you visualize like passion? They did it in a huge way.
Interesting. I thought maybe you were going to go a different direction than Soul, and now I don't even remember what it was. But hey, good for you. I thought you were going to say Hamilton for a second, but
I sucks. I wanted to see all of Steve McQueen's films about.
God damn it!
I couldn't do it. I could not get myself in the mood.
I feel like we left that out. Yeah,
I absolutely will do it. And the only thing stopping me is like, motherfucker, 6 movies, like, or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a lot to bite off. Like, I'm going to watch it.
Everybody.
Yeah, I'm absolutely going to watch it. They're getting great reviews, and Steve McQueen is a great director. But I'm just like, fuck, man, this sounds like a chore.
Maybe we'll all get on the same page. We'll watch some of them, and like we'll do
That's a good idea.
We'll just give a segment to it.
Maybe do half and half one week, like half one week, half next.
Yeah, I'm with you. We should watch them. Steve McQueen is very talented. Steve, if you're watching or you listen, we love you.
Steve.
We love you. Yeah. Adore you.
There it is. Wow. You got any favorites of 2020? Something god awful that no one should ever watch from 2020 that should be like burned? Let us know. CinemaNightPod at ProtonMail.com. Your opinions are always welcome. We appreciate everything that you guys contribute to the show this year. We've already got comments. We have people today that we've never even seen on the show before. Matthew Mikula is commenting, saying that too much crying in one. Too much crying in Wonder Woman. And Jen Brooks says this is fantastic. So these are people I haven't talked to in years. Good to see you guys. Thank you for contributing. And everybody like Derek, Derek, we may even label you our number 1 fan. I know Angela's a big fan of the show too. Angela, we'll have you back on soon. Don't worry, Angela. You'll be back. Hang tight.
Eric already told us that she doesn't listen to every episode. So I think that makes Fern our number 1 fan.
She's in the other room.
Oh, yeah.
Well, she gets part of the show. Yeah, she doesn't listen to everything. But yeah, so we got Brian Madison next week, and we'll reveal that movie at the end of the show. But now it's time to get to the signature segment of our show. It is time for Does It Hold Up? 1994's Legends of the Fall. And I thought maybe we'd get a little...
Tender.
First Henry Congress, tender noise.
Very tender. Oh boy, James Horner did the theme score in this film. It's a very beautiful, sweeping score. We can talk about that. Yes. Legends of the Fall, 1994. It's a great movie. Is it? Is it not? Does it suck? We're going to dive into that, of course. Taking it back, we always start from the beginning. 1994. We were all roughly 14 years old, and this movie came out in the theater. Travis Roy, did you see this in the theater? I'm going to say you did not.
I did not. I didn't see it in theaters. In fact, I don't know if I saw it in 94. I think I saw it in 95 because it came out in December of 94, which, of course. Oh, by the way, also Anthony Hopkins' birthday today. Happy birthday, Anthony.
Still alive.
Yep. Happy birthday, Tone.
Amazing.
I saw this on, I rented it when it was new. My family did. I watched it with the fam, I think. I didn't watch it again until the night before last.
Oh, wow. That's very surprising.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Samuel, word civilized has no place in any discussion of the affairs of this world.
There he is, Anthony Hopkins.
There
That's
he
the guy.
is.
Colonel Ludlow, sir.
That's what he sounds like.
What's going on here? I mean, come on. It's funny. We laughed about that when we were kids. What about you, Eric? 1995 on VHS, maybe a Blockbuster, or Entertainment Tonight.
I'll never forget the preview. Sitting in Brighton Cinema, and then this gorgeous landscape is just replaced by the beautiful blonde hair of a young Brad Pitt coming into home base on his majestic Mustang, whatever the hell it was. This was a big deal for me back in the day. For some reason, I would watch this all the time. Rented it on home video, and
Sexual awakening of sorts.
possibly. I still have some things I have to deal with personally, but it's like a soap opera for dudes. I just don't know how to explain it. Like I would watch it all the time.
Well put, dude. It is a soap opera for dudes, in a way that Sopranos is not.
Yeah.
That's really funny, Eric.
It's like a Harlequin note romance for dudes.
It really is. No shame.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Like this line.
Because you love her, I will forgive you for that. Once you say that again, and we're not brothers.
You're right. That's definitely soap opera for dudes. Great call.
Love that
Genius.
part.
Might be your best line of 2020. You snuck in your best line of the year for the last episode. Well done. Yeah, this was something that I never saw in the theater. No doubt about it. But it was definitely a VHS box copy we had. Someone bought it, my mom or DiBiase. It was in the house. And it was basically this and Boogie Nights. Like by the time Boogie Nights came out, we were watching both of those movies all the time, me and my brothers. And I don't know why, but I probably saw this movie a billion times from 1995-ish till I graduated high school. And I do all the Colonel Ludlow quotes and everything. Yeah, it was, it was a big part of my teenage years. So I have to give it a lot of, that's probably why I brought it up. And I wanted to see if it held up. I hadn't watched it in a long time. So it's been a minute for sure. And we're going to talk more about that. But of course, on this show, we always give you the details. We break it down. Did anybody look it up? Do you guys know the score on IMDb?
I do not.
No clue.
All right. Well, let's take a gander. Travis, what do you got?
I'm gonna say, in Travis's behest, maybe 6.7.
Maybe I'm going to say a 7.1.
Wow. I mean, that's definitely up there, but I'm afraid time hasn't treated this very well. It's been 25 years since I used taken a look at it. But like I said, I saw it like 20 times when I was a small boy.
Holy shit. 7.5. Wow.
That's
wow.
That's surprising.
That is surprising, isn't it?
Is that like our highest score so far or what?
That's one of the, for a movie like this, I'm surprised. I did not expect that to happen. Wow.
How many reviews on IMDb?
Well, we have over 100, almost 150,000.
Holy shit.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Wow,
I'm stunned.
That's amazing.
I'm sitting here blown away. Whether I love the movie or not, whether it was a part of my youth, I just didn't think that this movie was as revered. And that's a legit score. So
7.5. Holy shit.
It's pretty
yeah.
high.
So isn't that, Travis? Isn't that crazy?
It's higher than I would have guessed.
Yeah, it's higher than we both guessed. So on Rotten Tomatoes, we got quite the disparity. Critics, 58 splat.
Yeah.
But the audience, this is where the IMDb score comes into play. 87%. That's such a disparity.
People love it.
58 to 87. Mind blowing. I'm blown away right now. What just happened?
Damn!
That's crazy. There's no doubt about it. So of course we need to find out if Destin Thompson reviewed this film. Did Destin Thompson review this film or not? I'm hoping he did, but the critics are not a fan of this film. There's a lot of splats. There's a lot of people who are pissed. I don't know what it is about this film that people would be upset about. Can you guys give me one possible thing?
Yeah, I got an idea. How about the fact that hardly the first thing in American history to do this, because it's a trend throughout American history, but the fact that the movie uses American Indian culture to bolster this idea of white male, like untamed wilderness, like American grandiose, like it's all built up to it's all borrowed to support a white story. Also, I think this movie is kind of celebrates toxic masculinity.
Oh, there we go. That's what I'm talking about.
I
Destin-
absolutely agree with both of those, Mike. But I just think that the audience was this was like a heartstring tugger, and I think the audiences they caved to the manipulation, whereas the critics were reading between the lines on it.
Wow. Okay. Well, I guess Colonel Ludlow, he might disagree, but that's just my opinion. Destin Thompson definitely checked in on this film, and he says, "Yes, it's our final Destin Thompson review of 2020." Thank you, Destin, for all you did this year.
We love you, Destin.
We see ... misery, betrayal, heartbreak, ridiculous plot twist. And after he sustains a stroke, Hopkins apparently doing a composite impression of Popeye and Quasimodo.
There it is.
Love you,
That's
Destin.
best review.
What a way to
Popeye.
go out.
Jesus, man, that's harsh.
Oh, that's so harsh.
Fuck, man. Guy had a stroke. Half his body's paralyzed. How are you not Popeye and Quasimodo?
Wow, that was great. Thanks, Destin. Way to go out on top in 2020. Roger Ebert said, "This is the kind of big, robust Western love story that just begs to be filmed," which, come to think of it, it has been. 3 out of 4 stars. He liked it.
It's a very strange review.
Yeah, that was not usually, not as.
Come to think of it, I just watched that movie.
Peter Trevor says, though the Admirable Quinn has the toughest role, Pitt carries the picture. The blue-eyed boy, who seemed a bit lost in Interview with the Vampire, proves himself a bona fide movie star, stealing every scene he's in.
Yeah, I mean, this was a big, between this and Interview. I mean, he became a movie star that year, 94, I would say.
Yeah. Okay. And Lisa Schwartzman from Entertainment Weekly says, under such labored circumstances, James Horner's music must work overtime. It swoops and broods and promises you that something elemental about manliness is being conveyed. Splat.
Yeah, that's something elemental about manliness is being displayed. I don't know what they're going for. I do. And I also think that Horner's score is so saccharine. Like it's just real. It's too sweeping.
Yes, it is.
The film for me, it drowns every single emotional beat. I can handle the sweeping stuff when he's like riding around in the beautiful landscapes, but when you drown that entirely gorgeously filmed battle scene in just that, it's just so overwhelming during that scene because you have that score and that fucking narration from Samuel. It's just, and meanwhile you got these gorgeous visuals of the war, but Jesus Christ, lay off, Horner.
So when the music is at its worst, and I agree with you on that, is in the beginning when Julie Ormond's character Susanna first shows up, and she's there with her big ass horse dog, and everybody's so happy, and the music is just forcing it on you so much about how good times are right now, which just reveals to you, even the first time I saw this, I have to think, I had to go way back because it's been so long since I could really get in touch with the feelings of the first time that I viewed this film, But it's just so obvious that there's going to be something bogus that happens because the music is shoving it down your fucking throat.
Yeah.
It really does make sleeping with your brother's fiance so romantic.
So that was one of the things, like in this time, so not to like flash my credentials, but I mean, I am a historian of this era in America. So like,
Absolutely.
I have some thoughts. And one of them being that, the brother of a fallen, someone's brother dies and then that brother marries the spouse, the widow, that was really common for a long time. So like that whole element didn't bother me in the way that I think it may have bothered me some as a kid or might bother some people. Cause like that whole thing actually makes a lot of sense. What doesn't make sense is like meeting your younger brother's fiance. By the way, Samuel, who's like supposed to be the most revered person in the family, but clearly Tristan is, you meet your younger brother's fiance and just immediately just start eye fucking her. I'm going to just
immediately,
just like hang on. And just like, and then it's like, I prefer fucking. I mean, I fucking. It's just like
yes. Okay.
And then when by the way, I forgot to tell you, I'm going to join the army, and she comes to him for comfort. He's like, oh, it's okay. Let me start brushing my lips against your neck. Like all that shit is just so trashy and ugh.
Yeah, it's a soap opera for dudes, as Eric said. Those are soap opera moments. And the fact, by the way, I want to mention this. This is based on the novel by Jim Harrison, Michigan's own local Jim Harrison, pretty well-known writer. So we give Jim Harrison a little credit for the novel, which I've never read. So I don't want to say that I have. But
it feels like a novel made into a movie, right?
Yeah, I guess it does. You're right. But the fact that he is such an Tristan is supposed to be so beloved by everyone. I think there's actually a lot of truth in the image and the view of Tristan from other people's point of view. The fact this is an American thing that happens often. This is something I think they got right. The pretty strong, guy who's an asshole and everyone adores him still in a way. He gets propped up, okay? I think that's a real American ideal that actually they kind of nailed. I'm not happy about it, but I think that is something that is quite legitimate, unfortunately.
Oh no, I think you're 100% right. But the movie is not about like lessons of the fall or like ways we can learn from Tristan's errors. Right? The whole movie is like, this guy's a legend. This guy's fucking legendary. Let me tell you how great this guy is. He abandoned his whole family for like a decade. It's awesome, right? It's so cool. And then he just like strolls back into their life and like expects them all like, where's Susanna? I brought her. What do you mean things changed in the decade while I was gone or however long it was?
And by the way, before Leo fought a fucking bear, Brad Pitt took on the bear in this movie. So twice. That's right.
And by the way, the kind of asshole that literally pokes a sleeping bear.
Yes.
Literally does that.
That is undeniable.
And again, this is not the stuff that makes a legend. This is something that should be avoided. This is like a cautionary tale about the most selfish person in this family and how he destroyed that family. And I'm not letting Papa Ludlow off the hook either, because he has all kinds of toxicity about Aidan Quinn's character, Alfred in particular, like his unforgivingness of Alfred for like very little. But yeah, this movie is very much to me about like the ways that pride and favoritism and selfishness and all this stuff can just destroy a family.
Yeah, I mean, I love the Colonel. I really like the Colonel Ludlow character. He's the most progressive out of all of them. I love what they do early on in the picture where he walks away from the Indian Wars, but he doesn't teach his kids anything that he's learned about it. I mean, and then he gets mad at them when they all go out and try to fulfill their own destinies. And when Susanna comes, I'm sorry, but I would sit these assholes down and be like, okay, everyone, this is Susanna. She's Samuel's wife. Keep your goddamn hands off Samuel's wife. In the unlikely event that Samuel dies in the war, keep your goddamn hands off Samuel's widow. But he just gets mad at everyone for just going out and doing their thing. And meanwhile, he's celebrating the wild nature of these people, but he doesn't teach them.
Damn you, and damn you too. I love it. He yells at people.
Do you think this movie passes or fails the Bechdel test?
By the way,
like when his mom leaves in the beginning of the movie and they're all waving goodbye, I'm like, goodbye, only non-romantic female person in the movie. I know that's what it's gonna be, and I was right.
Yeah, okay, fine. Glenn Allen's checking in, and he says, speaking of toxic masculinity, don't we all want to die while fighting a giant grizzly bear? I know I do.
This brings up to me some of the problems I had with them. Like, there's a few points in this movie where I was straight up laughing at it when I don't think I was supposed to.
Oh, no.
when he's fighting a bear at the end, and then he goes, "It was a good death." I was howling with laughter. I was just howling with laughter. I'm like, it was a good death. Every 7-year-old wants to die being mauled by a bear. Like, what? And also when Samuel died, like I was giggling. I was giggling through Samuel's death.
I fucking chuckled too. I cried when Tristan died, but I chuckled when Samuel died. It's filmed like a comedy.
What about One Stab? He's a good guy. Come on, One Stab is he's
best character in the movie. I mean, I thought was
yeah.
But again, like he serves this function, which is solely to tell the story of these white men, and to really drive home like his Indianness. Like we get the sense that he's telling the story, not just like. And by the time he's telling the story, it's after 1963, right? Because Tristan dies in 1963, so he's telling the story, which he must be like 100 years old at this point, in a teepee. In like the 70s.
The wise old Indian in the late 70s.
Right. Okay. And he doesn't speak English still, who refuses to speak English, even though he understands it, and he's telling the story. And I don't know, One Stab. I mean, I really like the moment when I like that Tristan has long hair, because Indians have long hair, and that's like he clearly follows One Stab as as a surrogate father in a lot of ways. And when One Stab is at the bar and like they won't let him drink, and he like beats the crap out of the guy, and he's like, "Hey, he's counting coup on 60 guys or whatever." I'm like, oh, they're talking about counting coup, which is like not really something that you get in movies very often. But if you're unfamiliar, that's in Plains Indians, that was how they would score, quote unquote, like a win against an enemy, either by killing them or even sometimes simply touching them during battle. There's the standards are different, but like, so there is stuff in this movie which I found like really authentic and great. And then there's also, but at the same time, this stuff is all being used to like tell this legend about this white guy who is not great. He's simply not great.
Yeah. Okay. That's. I want to give that. I don't really disagree with what you said, and it's probably true, but I want to give a little bit of credit to the fact that there's a guy who's trying to, like, he sees what awfulness of what happened as a soldier. Anthony Hopkins' character, Colonel Ludlow, he tried to do something different. He wasn't just the complete, atypical white male of the time. He tried to get away from it all, and he was ashamed of what he had been a part of, and he tried to get. So that part is, as a younger kid, that's more impressionable, and you don't see the details and the nuance of the things you're describing because you're young. So if you see this at a younger age, you might be like, wow, this guy's someone really that you could emulate. I really want to be like him. And he's actually trying to make change by, hosting all types of people. He hosts the Runaway Decker, and Decker has family with other natives, and it's not just like god awful, but you're right. In the end, the message is that the white people are the focus of the story from that angle. It's hard to escape that point.
And he's ultimately a white savior character, because I mean, I do think, I agree. I think it's cool that he does what he does, and I think it's nice to see that. But the reality is that the norm for decades in this country was not Union officers walking away from the disturbing treatment of American Indians. It was them piling on.
Oh yeah.
The movie simply wouldn't have worked if he had been a typical colonel, so I get that. But it's on one hand, like I say, on one hand, I'm pleased by some of the representation in the movie. On the other hand, I feel like it's a big miss, and for the most part, I feel like it's a big miss. And like in a teepee in the 1970s and stuff, which I imagine that could happen, but I hope he's like getting paid like it's some sort of, I don't know, like it just kind of smacked of like some kind of repurposing of Indian culture.
It's 26 years old. Yeah,
that's kind of what I was wondering. I mean, does he take on the family does he host them, as you say, or did they clean his house and like cook for them and live in this tool shed?
Well, they show up, they come get him, the bad guys, and then they're like, hey, like in I think it's this one right here, isn't it? Is this scene? So
what exactly is he wanted for, Sheriff?
Well,
that would be of a private nature, sir.
Private nature. There's a public office you hold there, Sheriff, isn't it?
That's like him trying to be noble, but like he's not. To me, that's classic Colonel Ludlow. Like, oh, hey, you think you're righteous, but I'm the righteous guy, but you're not righteous either. There's like this battle to be the righteous one, and I don't buy that. And I think the more that Travis is saying this now, it's kind of bumming me out because he's right. Which is unfortunate for me. But can we talk about something different in this film too? I want to talk about the fact that you can't, no matter how hard you try, you can't prevent people from kind of going down a path, even though you don't want them to. Like he tried to enforce his anti-war nature. He hated war and what it did to the natives and what he saw. He still talks about the meeting of a child and a bullet. It's one of the most grotesque things he's ever seen. Colonel Ludlow says this, and I'm certainly beyond the scenes we see, he drove it into his children that war is awful and government is a nightmare. But yet they go off to war, and he couldn't stop anybody. Alfred becomes like everything that he hates. Like he becomes a local government official in Montana, and I guess I like that part of the film. Like, despite its problems, you cannot prevent people from becoming who they end up wanting to be, or just are destined to be, because it's just how it goes. You can't force your will upon people, even if they're family.
Yeah, I love that sentiment by Colonel Ludlow. It's one of my favorite parts of the movie. But the rest of the movie, almost in its entirety, spends its screen time honoring and romanticizing violence as being virtuous in all aspects, and in male anger, in like the wild nature of the beast. And we've got Colonel Ludlow himself. Oh, my son killed a man, his first murder. I'm gonna go give him a hug and finally reclaim my relationship with him.
You killed for the family. Welcome back into it. That's what it took.
Oh, I knew that was going to come up in the show. Thank you. Okay, it came up. Woohoo! I knew that was going to be like, we were going to crack a joke about violence, like reaffirmed his solidified nature, and he's one with the family again.
I think for me, the most powerful part of the movie was actually, even though I laughed at Samuel's death, I laughed and then I stopped. I mean, I laughed and then I stopped laughing because like then I realized what was going on, that the mustard gas was blinded. I'm like, oh, that's not funny. But the scene actually where and it's really understated and I thought really well done, where Tristan has to deal with the cow that's stuck in the barbed wire.
Yeah,
and, like you realize he's dealing with like some serious PTSD, and I thought that was really done really well. I thought that was done masterfully. As far as what Tristan goes on to do, like I don't know what to do. My brother died. I think I'm gonna fuck his wife for a while and then go be on an opium boat.
Yeah,
and like he goes to the Congo. Like dude goes to the Congo in this time. Like the things that Tristan would have been a privy to in the Congo. I mean, he may not have been chopping off hands himself, but like if he's a white man in the Congo in the early 20th century, he's essentially he's practically a slaver. Yeah. I mean, there's no reason to be there and if you're not a slaver, then you're well, I mean,
murderer.
You are. I mean, basically, what they would they would go there to poach and like and to take and to get all of the ivory and stuff, and they would use more or less at gunpoint the local native peoples to to do the work for them. And
he says he's become a hunter. He's like, I've become a hunter, and he's hunted everything in the world.
Right, and then then I'm like, oh, you went to the Congo, so
killed everything
that are happening at this time, right? I
mean, I'm not saying I dislike those scenes because I like the shots of the ocean and the ship. I think all that stuff is just shot so beautiful by Academy Award winner John Toll. But I blame Jim Harrison for. I'm sure he wrote this probably in the 70s, where there was this residue of Hemingway's ideal man. And you can't get past that. I mean, it goes way back to Louis L'Amour and all that stuff. But
have you looked at a picture of him, by the way?
No, I haven't seen it. But
look up Jim Harrison. Google image Jim Harrison's face, and you're going to be like, "Yep, that fits the profile to a T."
Well, I'm willing to bet. But yeah, well, they try to make it add to the allure of this character, and for me, it's just like Daniel Steele nonsense. Like you don't have to have him literally like hanging out with primitive tribes in the jungle for me to be like, this guy's enigmatic and mysterious. I mean, if you look like Josh Gad, there wouldn't even be a story here. It's just because he's this beautiful specimen.
I will say this. You're probably right. What about the use of the letters? Okay, so the letters is the narration. Now, that's like a clever way to be like, we're not just narrating. These are letters from actual people that we're just kind of retelling to you. It could be worse narration, but it's definitely overused. And it's a vessel to kind of like connect pieces of the story, which is all over the place too. Like
absolutely,
it can start to get confusing about where they are in time and like how much time has gone by. It's almost Game of Thrones-esque in terms of the time.
It gets so bad that Susanna literally has to write a letter to herself because they were like, well, where the fuck is she going to send it? Just so she can give us that position.
Yeah, that was pretty clunky, I thought, and like again, like really drives home that it's I'm having issues. Sorry.
You okay?
Someone hitting you. It's perfect time to play this clip. I want to play this. Hang on.
How can we what?
Father, you can't expect us not to be part of this. You taught us.
I taught you to think for yourselves. That's what I taught you.
And to defend what's ours.
Yes, what is ours? What is ours?
Well, we've already lost 2 of our cousins at the Marne.
Well, we've never even met. And don't talk at me, boys, if I've never seen a war.
That's perfect, by the way, in terms of that concept. Like they think they know, and they're so idealistic and young, and they're trying to talk to Ludlow like, "Hey, you don't know what you're talking about, Dad. This is a new war." And keep on, like that's what they said about the War of Secession. That's what they said about every war. It's just that is actually poignant. I'll give them credit on that. But anyway, back to the point, Travis.
Well, I was actually going to make I was going to kind of divert things in a different way. So we talked about John Toll, but we haven't talked about Edward Zwick yet.
Yeah.
Director of the film, who I think is a pretty capable director. I really like Glory. I think Last Samurai is a really
Last
good
Samurai.
movie.
Yeah.
This movie kind of puzzled me watching it because I'm like, this it's shot in Montana, big sky country, right? Or is that Wyoming? I don't know. It's beautiful, anyways. It's a Western. And
Montana, yeah.
Yeah, and think of the shot of like when Tristan comes back and you get Ludlow walking out to greet him, and it's like this low shot. You see Hopkins, like he fills the screen, and you see nothing else. The same thing happens when they get to pretty much any scene. When you are looking at it, you're not seeing the vast landscape behind them. Think of like Michael Cimino, for instance, film.
You mean God?
Anyone, right? But like the tight shots in this movie really weirded me out. Like I actually made notes at a couple places where I'm like, oh, look, mountains. There's the sky. He's showing us. Because like there's all these really, really tight shots. And it just seemed like kind of like a waste of really beautiful landscape that could have been like a really easy way to get, to bolster your movie and make it look beautiful. And he just chose not to. It was weird.
Oh, yeah. Oh, look, I love Glory is like definitely one of my all-time favorite films. Even after all these years, I still think it still holds up. Maybe we'll do it on the show one day. The intention of that film was pure. Maybe it's changed a little bit in 30 years, but that doesn't matter. Like in terms of capabilities, he's definitely has the ability to direct with technical prowess, and the experience he has now is, he's one of the more above average directors supposedly in terms of Hollywood. It doesn't mean that he's great though. This film, I thought he did a good job as the director. I just think what he was dealing with was going to be a false premise or a failed premise, even because of the fact the script was already written and this book was already written. So it wasn't his fault in that respect.
Yeah, I'll backtrack a bit and maybe even quite a bit, because I actually do really like this film. I love like the small interactions. Usually about 20 minutes into a movie, I'll stop and ask myself almost every time, like, okay, well, what's the point of this? Like, what am I supposed to be getting from this? And what I get from that first chunk is just, here's these people, here's these relationships. And, I joke and call it a dude soap opera, but I do like all that stuff. It's character focused, where it can easily just unravel into some nonsense like Louis L'Amour trash. But I do appreciate those small moments, and the characters, I think for the most part, are written really well. I mean, I got a problem with any movie that just has, oh, this guy's hot. Like have everyone like consider him like this Zeus or this god just because they're good looking.
That's Hollywood though, man. Come on.
I do, to say some nice things. I agree that there's some really strong performances in this movie. I think it's classic Hopkins. I disagree that he pulls a Popeye and all that stuff. I thought it was good.
It's funny.
It's funny, but yeah, I thought he really progresses as a character. You see him age and change. I wish that there had been more of his character. I think that he's a pretty compelling character, and I wish we just got a little bit more of his inner life, I guess, and his thought.
Yeah, I agree. He's he's kind of there on the surface, even though he's very impactful and has a lot of things to say. You're right. We don't get like we get some letters that he writes to Elizabeth, but that's kind of.
Mike, I have to say, you were talking about the letters earlier. The one they don't show is the reaction of Susanna and Colonel Ludlow to Samuel dying. They don't show either of those characters reacting to that death, and that could have been. They absolutely needed that.
They just get the heart shipped to them instead.
They just get a heart FedEx to them.
Maybe that's where Game of Thrones got it. They're like, oh, let's just skip that. Maybe they watched this movie and said, we just won't show the key scenes.
Some Anne Frank shit right there.
Puzzling.
Not Anne Frank. Jesus, Mary Shelley. Sorry, Mary Shelley did that with Shelley's heart. Anyways,
Mary Riley.
You got that good. Yeah, this is Cinema Night Podcast. We're talking about Legends of the Fall. Does it hold up? It's a film from 1994, so it might not. We'll get to that almost in a couple of minutes. Any final thoughts, guys? I mean, this is the longest episode that we will probably do because there's still more to discuss. I want to give credit to this film for its anti-government stance. That's what I liked about it. That's what I liked about it growing up, because I was into punk rock, and even though it was frustrating for the Native American perspective, there were certain things that I thought were positive for Native Americans in this film. But you're right. With the years gone by, you've convinced me, Travis. I'm not even going to argue that point. It's fucked now. But I love the fact that Colonel Ludlow was so anti-government, and he's like, I worked for the government, sir. And I love that. And he's like, the government sucks. And the fact that, Aidan Quinn's character, he wants to be this guy that'll make his father proud because his father was a government stooge in a sense, but that's not what he wants for his son. And I like that interplay with the complications of the fatherhood and the sons, and the government sucks. And then you got these other assholes coming in. The Prohibition era shows up in this film, and bootlegging, and these Irish pricks are trying to, they're trying to run the show. And then Tristan marries a girl who was quite younger than him when he went off to war. And all of a sudden she's grown up, and now he's fucking her and having children with her. This movie's, the more I start saying it out loud, now I'm getting like, shit, I don't know if this is a good movie.
It's kind of all over the place, right? There's a lot packed in here. We haven't talked about Julia Ormond at all. I thought that she was really good in this. I thought that she was one of the stronger elements of the movie. But as far as the character goes, I kept on it's just completely inappropriate. Like the way that hey, I'm so sorry about your dead wife. Now, as I was saying, we have a real shot here, Tristan. We have a real shot once you get out of what are you doing, lady? So there's a few things about her character that I found kind of frustrating. But that's kind of the nature of the movie, is that every character makes mistakes, and they make these choices that other people have to live with, which is very real. And I think that for as sweeping and grandiose as the movie is, I do think that there's a lot of elements of realism here.
Yeah, there is. You're right. There's elements of realism, but the sweepingness gets out of control. And this movie is it's meant to be this massive thing that is sweeping. So they're not trying to deny what they are or who they are. It's just a matter of, in the end, is this an enjoyable film to watch? Julia Ormond's character is kind of annoying at times. She tries to play dumb, but she really, Tristan's a dick, but she causes a lot of problems too. She loves Samuel, but she's lusting after Tristan just as much when she gets there. So she's to blame. You're to blame too, Susanna. And then she marries Alfred, but that's because that's all that's left. Why does she have to run through? She runs through all the brothers, and in the end, because that's all that's left for her, because she also lost her parents when she was little. So there's a lot of pain for her. And that they mentioned that in one of the early notes, that I feel there's a great emptiness and a void in her. And maybe that's why it ends the way it does.
I was really stunned when she takes her own life. I actually didn't believe that it happened. The next scene comes, and they're dealing with the corpse, the coffin and stuff. And I thought that they were still dealing with the coffin of Brad Pitt's wife. I'm like, what? It's been 30 days. What's going on here? And I'm like, oh wait, no, she actually killed herself. I just didn't see it coming. I didn't really, accept it.
Wow.
It surprised me.
They pulled one over on old Travis. How about that?
They did.
Well, you said it so well, Travis. We have to look at.
I know I did.
In terms of the time, because it wasn't unusual for a woman to be opportunistic, even about the men that she would marry. And
opportunistic is the right word, but I get what you're saying. She had to follow the options, which were limited.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. But yeah, I don't remember her killing herself. I wrote down do women really cut their hair when they are in extreme duress, and then she killed herself? I was like, fuck, I don't even remember that. But
I've definitely known women to cut their hair when in extreme duress. I've seen it happen.
Yeah,
that's a thing.
Yeah, they never do that, but they do cut their hair. That's true. I think I've seen. Yeah, I'm actually gonna agree with Travis on that. So in the end, here, guys, there's a lot of great acting. I think that's obvious. It's a story about white people mixed in with some Native American culture, told by a guy who doesn't speak English but speaks English through the whole film as a narrator. And I don't know. I don't know how this one's going to turn out. I love this movie as a kid, and I am seeing some of the flaws, but I also agree with Eric too that I really enjoy watching this film. Even though it is flawed, and then this goes back to really one of the pillars of the show. Travis has discussed time and time again about this. The movies are a part of you, and this nostalgic factor, and it doesn't matter what anybody says. It's still just going to always be a part of you. And for me, this will probably be one of those films, I think, but I'm still not sure.
Well, does it hold up?
Go ahead, man. You don't have us to rely on for your final decision this time.
Yeah, we're making you
Mike.
go first.
What an answer.
Oh boy. Well, all right. Well, if does this film hold up? This is a great question because it's fun at times. It's historically inaccurate, but there's some historical accuracies. And then there's assholes and there's beautiful statements. There's a lot of quotables, so I like quoting the film. When I think of this movie, I think about my brother sometimes because we would sit there and watch this film and make jokes about it. So that's a positive memory for me. But if we're talking about does this film hold up, and that's what we do on this show, we are the judge, jury, and executioner. And I'm gonna say this movie does not hold up. Yeah, there it is.
I'll go ahead and go next. I've mentioned already my major issues with the movie, which is the treatment of American Indian culture and that being used to, there's a reason why American Indians have been used as mascots by white people throughout American history. There's a reason why when the Boston Tea Party happened that they dressed up like Mohawk Indians, not because they thought that people would think that they're actual Mohawk Indians, but because white people have historically celebrated wildness by turning American Indians into some sort of, I don't even know what, some sort of conduit for their own adventures or something. It's bizarre. So that makes me uncomfortable in this movie. The way that, I can handle a movie being about a terrible person, but for the whole story of the movie to be like, everybody who loved him most died young. They broke themselves against the rock of his blah, blah. I'm like, that's what, why does this make him a legend? Why are we celebrating this man? I don't understand like what the messages of the movie and some of the messages. So these messages are like, they're things that like the government is bad, things that like wilderness is great. And especially if you kill people while you're being wild, like, and then attack a bear needlessly. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. I do feel like there's some really strong performances. But I did not grow up with the nostalgia of this movie like you did, Mike. So for me, it just it was worth watching. I'm glad I watched it again because I was basically watching it for the first time, but it doesn't hold up for me.
There it is.
Man.
Yeah, you're right.
You know what? When I started this movie last night, and it's been 25 years, I settled into the ambiance, just the beautiful cinematography, just the quiet nature of the interactions. I love all that. I'm so glad you played those clips, Mike, because I think the strength of the film is those exchanges where you talk about Colonel Ludlow wanting to divorce himself from the ways of man. You can't do that. His kids remind him that it's not possible. Sooner or later, you got to take a stand and get out there and do what is right in your heart. It's that type of stuff that speaks to me. And it's the performances. It's a little bit of the nostalgia, but it is, for better or worse, kind of the mystique of men from this time. I can't deny it. I put a fire on. I lit my fucking oil lamp so it appeared like I was in fucking Colonel Ludlow's den. I fell into it, man, and I was tearing up at the end. I just sat back, a little tear in my eye. Travis laughed at the bear attack, but I just said this is for me, it captures a point in time that's gone and forgotten, for better or worse. And I think the movie did a good job of portraying that. I think it holds up.
Inaccurately, but I'm glad you like it. I take that back. Some of it's accurate, some of it's not. I guess like any historical movie. So, but I'm glad that one of us liked it.
It probably knew it was inaccurate, but it had to tell its story.
It's a film, whatever. It's not a history book. Yeah, I'm glad that one of us thinks it held up, to be honest, because I think that the movie has worth. But I just couldn't. If I had to make that one, it's a binary choice.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah. There's a lot I liked about the film, but in the end, I have to be honest. I do think that it's some of his messages hold up, like the anti-government, the fact that the government and media try to prop up wars. Those types of messages are still very, very valid in today's world, but there's a lot of it that doesn't hold up. So that's why I went that way. But I still will watch this movie still. Just because it doesn't hold up doesn't mean that I'm not going to watch it. So I can separate the two. And that's how it is. That's how we do it on the show. That's it. We did it. The Cinema 9 pod has given you 2020's best, and we have decided 39 films. Did they hold up? We should have tallied like how many held up and how many didn't. Maybe we could post that.
too. We should do
Yeah,
that.
maybe we'll go back and
Well,
maybe
actually,
post
no,
it on our Facebook page or something.
No, we shouldn't post it because then what reason do people have to listen to them?
Well, they'll know that we won't give them which ones. I just want to get like a held up, didn't held up. Was it 17 and 20 or 9? You know what I mean? I won't tell them which ones. I just want to know how many did and how many didn't, because that's interesting.
Okay. All right.
And we'll post that. I'll post that later on. Anyways, you can check out our Facebook page. We have our lovely Cinema 9 Facebook page where you can interact with us. Our Instagram feed, we are always posting. Travis posts his movies that he's been watching. We get reviews from mainly Travis, right? Lately. But Eric will always pop in here and there. And, of course, you can give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. That would be wonderful. And in 2021, who knows? We might have advertisers or something. You never know. I mean, people like our show, and we thank you for being a part of it. We really, really do. I think everybody agrees, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, dude, I'd love it. I'll hawk Raisin Bran Crunch. I don't give a shit. Just give me whatever. I'll sell it.
Perfect.
Okay, well, it's time. Next week. Oh, boy. Yeah, we're sorry for the audio issues today. I'm not but next week, Brian Madison will be on the show, and he has selected Devil in a Blue Dress. We are going to break it down to decide whether or not that film holds up. 1995, I believe. I've actually never seen this film, so I'm looking forward to a fresh movie.
It's another one that I haven't seen since it was new. I watched it when it came out and thought it was pretty great, but I have not seen it since then, so I'm looking forward to watching it again.
I love to see a new movie and find out if it holds up, because it's just going to be so fresh for me. So I'm very excited for that. Thank you, Matt Wilson. Yeah, happy holidays to you, Mr. Willis.
Hey, Matt, you too.
We appreciate you being, people like him have joined the show this year and picked up. The Facebook page has helped us out a lot. So next week, settle in. Our first show of 2021 will be Brian Madison. If you don't know Brian, this guy knows film. In fact, he even has worked in film. He has a lot of knowledge about cinema, and I think he's going to bring a lot to next week's show. So that's it. Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year. Thanks for watching. Appreciate your support.
Yay!